You're listening to The Topcast, the original podcast for growth-minded instrumental music and voice teachers since 2015, with your host, Tim Topham. Our mission at Top Music is to empower instrumental music and voice teachers to find and nurture their innate creativity so that they can teach lessons that are innovative, integrated, and inspiring, and that will have a positive, lifelong impact on their students. Join us each week as we interview teachers and creators from around the world and unpack fun and exciting ideas to maximize your teaching and studio business success. Hey everybody, it's Tim here. Welcome back to the Topcast, where we explore the smartest, most creative and future-focused ways to run a thriving and fun music teaching business. And today, we're talking about something that can genuinely change the way your studio is seen in your community. So, here's the scenario. You're running a great studio, you care about your students, you teach creatively, all that's great. But then a new teacher pops up down the road, charging $15 less per hour. And then another one offers your first 3 lessons free, and suddenly you're in a pricing war that you never signed up for. Here's the thing. In just about every town, every suburb, every school catchment, there are always going to be teachers charging less than you. In fact, here are 2 case studies of teachers who have asked about this very question in our Facebook group recently. So one of the teachers said, I'd love some feedback from others about this. I recently moved into an area known for its artsy, creative vibe and have been promoting my piano teaching, including through a Facebook group. I had around 10 inquiries, mostly asking about pricing. I mentioned it was $35 for a half an hour, which is the same rate that I used to charge before COVID, and actually less than I charge in my previous area, given this new location has a lower socioeconomic profile. But since then, I've had 1 no-show, and the rest of the inquiries haven't gone anywhere. It's left me wondering, is it the price? There's another teacher nearby offering lessons for $25 per half hour, which seems super low. So I'm really torn. I want to respect the value of what we do as music teachers, but also need to attract students in a new area. How do you balance staying competitive without undervaluing the profession? I wonder if you felt the same way at all. And we had another teacher share an email request they'd received, which said, "Hi there, I'm reaching out to see if we could find a time for a lesson. Also, I've been looking into pricing for private lessons and noticed that rates around here seem to range from $30 to $35 per half hour. I was wondering if you'd be open to $35 instead of $40. With multiple kids and various activities, the costs do add up, so I'd really appreciate your consideration." Have you ever been asked to reduce your price or match others in the area, or been told that you're too expensive or that the person down the road is so much cheaper? Well, this is the episode for you, because what I want to do today is give you some suggestions about how you can actually solve this problem. The most important thing to know is that you don't need to be the cheapest. You need to be the most valuable. I'll say it again. You don't need to be the cheapest. In fact, that's a really bad way to go. You need to be the most valuable. Because when all studios look the same lesson times, same, I'll prepare you for the exams, same, I'll put you through this repertoire series, same number of recitals, then families default to choosing based on price because they have no other real metrics to go on. And that's not a good place to be. But when your studio looks and feels different, when the experience is bigger than just 30 minutes at the violin once a week, suddenly price becomes secondary because what you're offering is no longer comparable. And this is the key factor here. So I really think we've got 2 options to combat this challenge that we sometimes have in running our studio business. Option 1 is by offering a very different lesson experience. So consider that as putting yourself out there as the teacher of songwriting, or someone who focuses on jazz, or someone who prepares students for classical recitals. So that could be one option. And the second one, and the one we're really talking about today, is all about how you can bundle your lesson offer in such a way that you can't be compared to others. So let's just go into a little bit more detail on each of those 2. So in option number 1, we're talking about just offering a really different lesson experience. In order to do that, you've got to be really clear with what you offer. Now, I'm not sure if you've heard of this concept of a zone of genius and a zone of excellence, but I really love this. When we talk about zone of genius, it's talking about what am I good at that also energizes me? What am I good at that also energizes me? That's your zone of genius. Your zone of excellence is what you're good at. It doesn't really excite you. And a lot of us spend a lot of time in that situation, don't we, unfortunately? And I often think about this because I try and work as much as I can in my zone of genius. What am I good at that also gives me energy, that inspires me and excites me and makes me passionate and lose sort of track of time and get in flow? What is that? What is that for you? Even hit pause now and just have a think. What is your zone of genius? What are you really good at that also energizes you? And have a think about whether you're spending most of your time in that zone at the moment with the kind of teaching that you're doing or the kind of work that you're doing. Ultimately, we want to make our zone of genius as much a part of our work as we possibly can. So if you are really good at teaching transfer students who have come from another teacher about to quit and reinvigorate them into their music, and that also energizes you, then that's your zone of genius. And can you find those students? Can you make that the focus of your lessons rather than teaching 7-year-old beginners or seniors or whatever else that you may be good at but doesn't really excite you? So the important thing, if you are going to choose option 1 here, which is offering something really quite different to everyone else in town, is about how do you explain to people that you specialize in beginners or preschoolers or teaching pop songs or songwriting or whatever it is. Perhaps to be different, you could structure your lessons differently. So you could teach overlapping or 30-30-30 lessons or small groups or have a lab time. We've talked lots about this in the podcast in the past. So I won't go into detail of all these options. If you are interested though in how you can restructure your studio and incorporate different elements of buddy time and group time, then we've got an incredible course inside Top Music Pro called All About Making More, Teaching Less, using pairs, buddies, lessons, labs, and those sorts of things. When I think about this option of having a really different lesson experience, I think about one other teacher in Melbourne who is the go-to person if you have a child that is super advanced and wants to win competitions and blitz all their auditions. He's differentiated in a way that allows him to charge over $200 per hour for this service, and he has a full studio, and he also works in tertiary education. But this is a really great example of differentiation. He's very specific. You don't go to him if you want your child to learn pop songs. You go to him for this very, very clear goal, and he's able to charge in a way that's commensurate with the outcomes that he's able to achieve for his students. Now, all of this also comes down to having a clear vision for your studio and making sure that prospective students know about it, most likely through your marketing and website. So your website really has to speak to how you're different and what your families and students will get from working with you. Remember that website, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but websites aren't about you. Yes, you should have an about page or some information and a nice picture of you, but they're not about you. They're about what you can do for students. What is the transformation that families will enjoy? What's the experience they'll enjoy? Think about what's in it for them, always with your websites. All right, I'll get back off my soapbox. And I guess I want to summarize all that by saying, let's be honest, being clear about what you offer and having a vision is something that every studio should have, regardless of competition or differentiation or anything else. All right, so that's kind of option 1, and I think all of that is really valuable regardless of where you're at the moment. Now, option 2 I mentioned is bundling. So bundling is the idea of combining a whole range of perks, resources, bonuses, and benefits into your tuition fee. So your offering isn't just music lessons, it's a music experience. And I'm not just talking about chucking an extra worksheet in now and then or anything like that. I mean, actually building a package that feels exciting and valuable to parents or adult students from day one. And this can be really powerful when worked in combination with that first option. So why does bundling work? Well, bundling changes the conversation. Instead of parents asking, wait, why are your lessons more expensive than that other studio? They're saying, wow, your studio includes all of that? So it really helps you, number 1, stand out in a crowded market. Number 2, simplify billing and admin, because most of the time when you do bundling, you can do automated billing on a regular cycle. It creates consistency and professionalism, and it can build real loyalty for your families as well. It's like going from pay-per-view, old school, to Netflix, one price, all of the access, the whole bundle, right? So what kind of things could you include in your lesson bundle? And I'd love for you to get creative and think about this. I'm going to give you a few ideas, and we've also put together a bit of a sheet of more ideas that you can go and download as well. But here are a bunch of things that you could bundle into your tuition to make it stand out, deliver more value, and honestly, make your studio way more enjoyable to run too. So what could you do? You could include a welcome pack. So here's the lesson price. And included in that, you're going to get a welcome pack. You're going to get a branded tote bag, stickers, practice journal, pencil, pens, manuscript book, whatever it is. Or a binder or folder to store music, theory sheets and assignment. Or an annual print pack with worksheets and games for the year, or manipulatives, or whatever it is. Or all of that stuff together, perhaps. And then if you think about your local community and the culture you're kind of creating, could you bundle in monthly themed events like improv jam nights or pizza music night? Do you include social events for all the students once a month or once a term, an end of term pizza party, or bring a friend days or something? What about masterclasses? Could you bring in other teachers so that your students, perhaps if you have a real vision for excellent performance and exam success, maybe your students and their parents would really value you getting in experienced examiners to come and give a masterclass every month. And that could be a hugely valuable thing that you could bundle in. Oh, once a month, we have examiners from the local exam board come in and your child can play for them, and that's all included in the price. Wow, how cool is that? And maybe just a couple of other ideas. You could include app subscriptions for apps like Piano Maestro or Noteflight or something that you use with your students on a regular basis, all included. They don't have to pay any more for that. Or the music that they're going to use, all included, if you can sort of budget for how that would actually look. Or maybe you include theory classes on the side. Look, there are so many great ideas, and I hope these have just given you a few. We've got lots more that I'm going to give you a link to be able to download in just a moment. Now, you may be thinking, whoa, holy moly, that's a lot of stuff. And yes, it is, but I'm just trying to give you ideas with the hope that one of them will spark something in your brain to go, ooh, that actually sounds really cool. I think my parents would absolutely love that. The main thing is you don't need to do all of this at once. Start with one or two things. So maybe it's a welcome pack and a quarterly group event, or maybe it's bundling exam fees and books into your pricing, whatever it is. The point is to move away from being seen as just a service provider and into being a studio leader who curates an amazing musical journey and experience for their students. Now, if you want to grab that PDF, it's the full checklist of everything we've talked about today and a whole lot more ideas that I haven't mentioned as well. Then just head to the show notes for today's episode. It's over at topmusic.co/episode 416. And you can grab that and you can kind of tick them off as you bundle things together, circle them, whatever you want to do. But I really hope you have a think about how you can differentiate yourself. Could you just be that teacher who differentiates by the way that they teach and the people that they teach and the outcomes that they have? That was option one. Or option two, or both, of course. Option two being this idea of bundling. How can you set yourself apart so that you're not like everybody else and you can't be compared? And just to kind of summarize this in practical numbers, let's say you offer piano lessons for ages 7 up for $30 for 30 minutes, billed monthly. So that's $120 a month for your students for 30 minutes weekly lessons. That's probably a fairly standard kind of offer. And for that price, the student comes to you 30 minutes, regular piano lessons, just like their parents would probably expect, and that's it. Now, let's compare that to, instead of charging $120 a month, which was that first example, let's say you now charge $200 a month. And you might go, oh my goodness, no one's going to pay that if the person down the road is charging $120 a month or $100 a month. Why would they pay for $200 a month? But what you're going to be selling them is all of the extras that their child will enjoy. They're going to get monthly group jam sessions with their mates. They're going to get a pizza party every term, all food included. They're going to get small group theory classes with materials and books included, with a certificate of performance each term and a theory certificate. And you're going to do a YouTube recording of their pieces each term to share with their grandparents. And you're going to hire them a digital piano for the first month free and give them a music voucher for the local shop in town. And you're going to negotiate that with them in return for promotion of their shop. Like, you could bundle in so many different things. And a parent looking at those two offers, they can't compare them anymore because look at all the value you're providing in the second amount. And if they can afford it, why wouldn't they? So I hope that sort of makes really clear how powerful this marketing strategy can be. So in summary, in a world full of cheap lessons and undercutting, your best strategy is not to lower your prices, it's to raise your value. And bundling helps you do exactly that. It transforms your offer, it elevates your brand, and it makes families say, this is where I want my child to learn music. Well, look, thanks so much for joining me for today's episode. I really hope it helps you if you are in that situation of new people moving into town, or you've moved to a town, or you just think that you should be able to charge more than you're currently charging. Then hopefully this has been helpful for you, and you'll be able to go and download that checklist, tick some things off, add them to your bundle, and let us know. Head to our Instagram or our Facebook group. Let us know if you've done this bundling or you already do this. What do you include? Share it with us. Help other teachers who might be struggling with the same challenge. Keep bundling, everybody, and I'll see you next time on the Topcast. Thanks so much for joining me. How do you keep up to date with all the latest trends and research into music education? How do you connect with other teachers around the world and make sure your teaching stays fresh and relevant for students of all ages and stages, both now and into the future? I created our Top Music Pro membership to be the one-stop shop for music teaching resources, training, support, and community, and I'd love for you to come and join us inside. With over 40 comprehensive training courses, hundreds of teaching demonstrations and lesson plans, free monthly sheet music, discounts, and all the business and pedagogy support you could ever need, Top Music Pro is the community you've been looking for. If you're ready to level up your learning from the podcast and join thousands of other teachers in our global network, head over to topmusicpro.com today. If you enjoy this show and want to hear more of our work, be sure to subscribe to this podcast wherever you're listening today. For links and resources mentioned in this episode, visit us at topmusic.co/podcast or check out the show notes. I'm Tim Topham. Thank you so much for listening. Enjoy your week ahead, and I'll catch you next time.